Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 123rd episode of our first YouTube run through the House of Light expansion to Book of Hours, playing as the Archaeologist. I'm the librarian of Hush House, and this journal will record what arose from my crime and my curse. The archaeologist's dearest wish when they came to the house was to record a history where their crime could be forgiven or redefined, but you can complete the game by recording any history. You might wish to begin your studies with the Skolakosophy wisdom. Memories the archaeologist. I opened a tomb and found too late that it was a prison. The plague that I released is now my shadow, or perhaps I am its reflection. It is too late to set matters right, but it is never too late to protect the future from the past. In Hush House I can do no harm. Perhaps I can make amends. Now, I took a look at my notes. I'm very happy to report that you are all now such a regular feature of my evenings that the sort of personal assistant features of my tablet now put my notes as a recommended shortcut at precisely the time I start recording these, which I thought was kind of amusing. I do notice here we are working on the incandescent hollow. This is definitely a big reveal, so I'm looking forward to that. Sullen heat still roils below. Its originator must be long gone, but it must be quelled before I can descend safely. In addition, we are going to be... excuse me. We are going to be improving Denzel. So we've got the storm already, but I believe that will bring... So that's the 6. Actually, that's a good question. So it says here Denzel 12 heart. We've given him the collaboration, we're giving him the memory, and I will be giving him the tool of the swaddled thunder, but I suppose that invites the question as to what room I was trying to open with him. I guess it was down below here. 12. Okay, so it seems to me like I'm one short on the numbers. So this is a tool. I definitely have enough time for the day, but if the swaddled thunder is a tool, I don't think I'm just going to be able to use the mop there. I suspect the pears... Nope, pears give us grail. Huh. I feel like I'm one short on the heart. I'm sure I'll work it out when the time comes, so there's no big deal there. I also see notes here saying leaves and thorns, which looks like I'm already queued up, and then orchids and narcotics. I'm going to take that as saying that I want to go all the way on both of those, so we're going to be leveling them up to 6 in both cases. There's actually maybe one more thing that I can check on that. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I've got it. I've got enough to work with right now, but I do need to figure out what the story is with Denzel and his heart. It is winter and the storms have tightened the seas. I am sitting before the fire in the sweet bones with a beef and potato pasty in one hand and a hot ale posset in the other. I'm also maybe a little troubled by the fact that I don't seem to be working with any books right now. That feels like a fairly large blunder. Okay, so let me just double check here that I've got... Yep, all the desks are empty. Okay, so let's queue out, let's kind of queue up the elements of the soul that I'll need. So I've got some health and I've got some Arab set aside. In fact, I have exactly enough between these to be able to level up leaves and thorns and orchids or narcotics. Now, it's pretty unrealistic in my opinion to think that this is going to be this is going to be enough. I think we're going to run out of time tonight, but I can at least get some of the basics down. So it seems to me like satisfaction, beguiling melody, actually sorry, not so beguiling melody, scent, taste, and Hive's Lament are all candidates. Okay, I see the problem here. So let's say that I'm gonna leave aside Denzel. I'm done with him for today, and the rest of the focus for today is going to be entirely on generating Grail and Nectar memories. So if that is the case, then I'm going to... Let me just double check that I didn't get this wrong here. Yeah, so Savage Hymn and Secret Threshold doesn't help me. Cheerful Ditties is Heart. Foresight doesn't help. Impulse will, and we'll be using that in enough time. Trying to remember where... I'm gonna go with Damascene Traditions of the House of Leith for now. I don't have a whist to work with here. I feel a little queasy about using the Faust, but... Okay, Confounding Parables doesn't help. No storms, no patterns, no regrets, no revelations, no hindsight, no fears, no contradictions, no salt. Definitely satisfaction. So again, I need to remember where we were on here. I think I'll go for Callicite Supplications. Solace doesn't really mean much to us. We'll go for Gossip, really the only option for Gossip here. Old Reliable, the Intimations of Skin. Bittersweet Certainty doesn't do anything. Stolen Secrets doesn't. So if I want a Hive's Lament, that would be through Drums and Dances. I would need to find another 2 Nectar on top of that. So I'm going to say that's an absolute last resort. So what I'll do here, I think I'll let this run for 30 seconds, and then I'm going to... Maybe I'll make it like 35, and then I'll bring another batch... another batch in just to see if I can make slightly more efficient use of the day. And now we're going to spend some quality time. Well, first we're going to talk about what's here, and then we'll spend some quality time thinking about how we're going to improve Denzel. Oops. The Oubliette. Here, in a vessel shaped by fire and fate, George Collars can find a flame in human flesh, a blazing shadow of a blazing future, a name of greed and time. Green called it the sun's bastard grandchild. Van Loren warned of the second dawn's first spark, but Collars spoke of it reverently as the leashed flame's true heir. The Oubliette containment, fire, iron, dusk, air, all wrenched, into a fire, iron, dusk, air, all wrenched into a configuration designed to confine something very dangerous. That something is long gone, but the configuration still has its uses. So... that's what we got here. And I think at this point, this is kind of the indication in terms of when they're talking about the fire. We have an idea in terms of what started it, not just in the sense that there was something kept here, but also that there were worms that sort of got down, sort of seeking it out, and then that sort of seemed to knock on all the other ones. I think I'm trying to figure out if this is actually directly related to the Singlefoot with the earthquake, or if there was a... because it feels like that was a separate incident which didn't precipitate the the sort of the worm invasion. But anyways, so now you know. All right, so here we go. Let's take advantage of the weather while it lasts. So for blacksmith's assistance, we've got collaboration, we've got a memory. I'm gonna go. So no matter what, I know we are gonna work with the swaddle. Oh, because it's 6. That's why that works. The threads converge. This assistant may be able to make use of fabrics and other woven things. This will increase their aspects. They'll keep whatever might be left over. So we will actually be able to use Denzel, and we'll be able to talk with him for the rest of the day. But I still think it's weird that I'm not generating a replacement Wormwood Dream. I guess it's because I don't have the memory, but that's an easy one to fix. We just toss in the old wound. Alright, the skill is now level 7. Its power aspects have also increased. So I do need to eventually start thinking about where these are going to land on the tree, but for now, I will content myself with leveling up. I should be a little more comfortable using this health, because unless I plan to use it in the next 30 seconds or so, I think it'll wind up unused. Still probably going to hold off for now, but should be a little braver about it. Alright, let it clutter up their shelves. This has improved their aspects appropriately. Now I am feeling a little shaky on the idea of talking to Denzel. The reason for this is that I've already kind of got my plan in terms of generating memories, but honestly at this point, what's the harm, right? So I'll keep talking with him. He might even reply. But we're also a few seconds in, so we know we're not going to overwrite any of the memories that we get. So I'm also going to pursue another batch of memories here. At least so far as I can. There's going to be a couple which are unique. Or one that's unique. It's Fusi, right? No, Kilisimi. Feel a little at odds about this one too, but we've already used up the Faust. Although, I don't actually think I have any more texts to read like this right now, so it's really more prepping us for the next round. Which tells me maybe... do I really need another pitcher of water? I don't think that's a good idea. But I do think I need to try and make something of the... yeah, okay, here's what I'm going to do. We'll do the beach combing. So again, this is kind of a... maybe not admission, but this is sort of me saying we're not going to get both Leaves and Thorns and Orchids and Narcotics leveled up to the point that we want. But we'll go as far as we can with the resources we have. Alright, the skill is now level 5. Its power aspects have also increased. So, I'm going to wait the 6 seconds here. The other option is to try and drink something or interact with the plant, but I think that throws off my schedule. So we're just going to leave this open for now. Better now, so we'll turn that into money. Okay. Damascene traditions of the House of Leith. The House of Leith was an order of immortals who sought obscurity, rejecting their past and future. If the author of this short text is to be believed, the initiates of the Damascene branch were much more radical than their fellows elsewhere. The house generally forbade any potentially procreative activities for fear of the terrible consequence of too long bearing a child. The Damascene order took this much further. At one point, male initiates were required to undergo castration and female initiates to strangle any children they had previously borne. These measures were so horrific that the order was shaken by repeated schisms and eventually absorbed into the local Sisterhood of the Knot as a society of healers and exorcists. So I think we're going to be stuck at level 4 for this. So Callicite supplications, prayers addressed to the Red Grail by the Sisterhood of the Triple Knot. If we should remember not, let our children remember in their redmost dreams. One prayer describes how sufficient grail aspect can be used with Tridesma Hira rites to give a life, a little life, to a doll twisted from fabric. 3 flowers hath the tree. Ernestine Peterhans records her observations of the growths of trees and flowers around the isle, and the omens and portents she attempts to draw from them, particularly the yew tree in Earl Bryan's meadow, whose flowerings are sometimes eccentric. Ernestine observes that in years when the tree flowers black, troubling secrets arise. When it flowers red, war and fires follow, and that no DeWolf heir has ever been born in a year when it flowers white. Ernestine attempts to use the tree's growths to advantage in her business affairs, but it fails. She is evidently very concerned when Hendrik de Wolf's grandson Giles runs off with the pale trollop Hafren in a year when the tree flowers white. She begins to fear that she has entirely misinterpreted all the relevant omens. She is deeply concerned for the continuation of the de Wolf line and prays for Giles' return. And the intimations of skin, fiendishly complex, weirdly distorted illustrations of Congress and anatomy by the haunted visionary painter Niels Frederick Malsker. Malsker illuminates the evolutions of the names of the Grail with unfortunate clarity. It seems a lovely who consumes an ivory becomes an ivory, a lovely who consumes a thirstly becomes a thirstly, a lovely who consumes a name of another hour might take its place. In the penultimate illustration, a lovely grapples with a fungoid knot that can only be a name of the crowned growth. The lovely's mouth and other portals gape wide, and the growth name is already partially engulfed. But it seems that Malsker couldn't bring it himself to illustrate the result, and the final illustration is only a scrawled, bloated obscurity. Okay, I got a couple of ideas for the next steps, actually, but let's bring some order first. Okay, so we are going to level up Orchids and Narcotics. That was what the original plan was. And I can employ the health here, so satisfying to have come so far. The real question now is, what about the next couple of turns? So what am I going to be able to, realistically, what can I expect to level up? So we've got a couple of memories on its way. I believe we should have 2. And then, of course, the other 2 that we'll get will come from the, one will come from the Intimations of Skin again. And then the other will be 3 flowers hath the tree. I think we can do that at Caller's desk because of the forge. So from that, I also know that I'm going to want to keep at least 1 element of the soul for to generate a scent. And then from that, I also know that I'm going to want at least 1 element of the soul in order to level up something to level 5. Everything else is sort of free to go as far as interactions are concerned. So maybe I'll keep a tryst aside so that I can generate an old wound. I'm going to experiment. So with the beehive, we have the the extended version now. So bees like librarians are not to be trifled with, especially these bees. Concealed among their drony bustlings, the elegant worm-curled noble larvae who might one day be the progenitors of the new Blomberende. Blomberende remnants come to pay their respects. So I'm kind of curious what happens if I interact with this in winter. So gather in winter. I'm unlikely to gather much from the hive at this time of year, but the Blumberende sometimes sing their laments louder than the wind can gainsay. So there's something specific about this. I'm actually going to change it around to pentiments and precursors. And the idea here is to see if I can wind up with a Hive's Lament, which admittedly will probably be too late for practical purposes here. But again, I don't really have that much else to interact with. I suppose at this point here I should probably be making any more beverages. So the coals glow. I'll use the metal here. Brew over the fire, bring water to the boil, permit the potential here to express itself. I suppose I could have been trying to make things like the iotic essence as well, but this feels dumb, but I am going to draw up water as well, just because I have the chance to lower the bucket creaking into the dark. I think I'll keep the FET and the core as a reserve, just because those don't have an immediate application that I can think of. He does a lot with silence, this man. So we'll keep talking with Denzel. We do want to make sure that he opens up the gaping darkness, but we can wait till the sun goes down for that. Steam and scent both rise. It's ready. Named for an enigmatic minor deity whose charge is the healing of burns. Give that to Collar's office. Can't think of a reason why. The skill is now level 5. Its power aspects have also increased. So, the memories that I get will not be sufficient. It's a little tempting to try and open up one of these packages, but the first thing that I want to do is to guarantee my... I want to guarantee the next level on this, so investigate the object. You won't use this up or consume it by doing this. So we'll be able to take either leaves and thorns or orchids and narcotics to the next level. Alright, let's hope it is equally possible to forget this again. We have the opportunity to bring the... we have an opportunity to get the old wound back, so we'll do that right now. Explore an old wound to awaken the violent resonances within. And we now have foresight from Denzel. An Echo of Silence, a very heterodox history of the House of Leith as recorded by the Serenity, a Leithan adept who declares that the House of Leith was created explicitly to prevent the ascension of any more mortals to name or hour status. Eternity cannot be escaped, but in history it may be delayed, the Serenity explains. The gods who were flesh by their nature are a surrender to eternity. The roots of the house are said to pass into the Wood of Dreams through the 3 forests in the bounds, identified as the Bai Elai, the Black Cedar Forest, and the Brecaliant. While one tree of these may yet stand, one single tree, the histories continue. And 2 Wombs, 1 Heart, a fanciful account by Thirza Blake of the early life of the twins, their time as mortals before they became hours or even long in a dry kingdom beyond the Western Sea, which Thirza suggests might have been ancient Mexico. It is widely known that the sister was rich and the witch poor. It is widely known that the witch loved the sister first. It is not widely known that the witch first employed to teach the sister the arts of embroidery. Although Thirza is very probably just making up much of the story, there are long passages expounding notable techniques of weave work and thread fight. In particular, when the witch and sister flee across the sea to be together, Thirza explains how they fashioned a peace weave with Heart and these arts, and then, to tame the winds, called on Heart again to swaddle the thunder in the peace weave. All right. So we can remember the core and metal easily enough. Part of what I'm doing with Denzel here for memories is we don't yet have something for the overnight. So I will, as I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. So I might do one more chat with Denzel because I can. Well, maybe not. We've done this one recently, so I'll leave that aside. Same logic behind 3 flowers, half the tree. This couldn't have been timed better. Watchful potted plant. Not everything, needs eyes. The sense of awareness persists, but the plant remains immobile, unsettling, but harmless. It doesn't even have thorns. Alright, so we're going to turn that into leaves and thorns right away. At last, I'm something of an authority in this. And essentially anything I want to do now needs to take less than 30 seconds. So if I've got a 30-second action that I can take somewhere in the house right now with the core or the metal, I'll take it, but I can't think of a 30-second action. So we'll just wait for everything to finish. We'll see what Denzel gives me in terms of a memory. Fear. So, I mean, none of these are really compelling options. I delay the revelation in the gaping darkness. That'll probably give me books, though, so you know what? I'm gonna go for the gaping darkness here. Thunder prowls the entrance to this cave. A dying curse or a capricious storm spirit. It must be dealt with carefully. We may get some memories from these locations, so... Unexpected finds in the folds of earth and sky. Animal bones. So we can turn that into essential Perios with enough time. More sand. An hourglass, of course, is sand contained by sand. And an awakened feather, alive to every draft and spark. I think we actually wound up making one of those to get a replacement, but now I have extra. And I normally try to avoid turning this into, you know, Allopolis dumping ground, but it's hard to it's hard to find other spots. Maybe we'll try in the cucurbit storage. Well, looks like there's a bit of space there. Alright, so that's it for memories. At this point, we'll go for the foresight, mostly because it's the only option that I have. I wonder if these will work in the... Yeah, these are pretty big, so... A little water splashes on the stones of the well to nourish the mosses there. That was a bit much to hope that it would fit on that. Oh, fits there, though. Precariously. The skill is now level 6. Its power aspects have also increased. And regret. I'm unlikely to garner much from the hive at this time of the year, but the Blumberende sometimes sing their lament louder than the wind can gainsay. So I did forget that there would be, the memory. This was one I was testing. Move gingerly while the pain lasts. Please tell me Denzel's working. Okay, good. I was worried for a minute. All right, so in terms of goals for today, the big news, of course, was the Oubliette containment. but that's always a fun one to accidentally click on. I'm sure for a future video I'll do 3 hours of Oubliette containment to give you a relaxing night's sleep. But the overall plans for tomorrow, I think, are pretty obvious. So we're going to want orchids and narcotics. In fact, one of the first things that I can do here is queue up the plant. So in terms of surpluses, probably the shaft is the best. I'll take care of the books at the beginning of the next episode. But yeah, the main idea here is to finish off orchids and narcotics. But because now that I am getting the scent from the watchful potted plant, what I can do from there is I can start thinking about what's the next book that I read. So this is my surplus, I believe here. I don't think we made a decision on Path and Pilgrim, but I think Tridesma Hyra, I was ready to start kind of going all the way with that one. At the very least, we've got a couple of instances of that. I think I keep going through these and say, I'll worry about it later. So there'll probably be a big penalty that I need to pay at some point for being distracted on these. But honestly, getting through these right around the time that we should get some extra books from this room, I'm just noting because of the outline here, I think that's a decent enough plan. And then, of course, we'll see what the weather gives us. I don't really think there's a whole lot that we need to worry about winter-wise. So there's the charred chamber, but honestly, between Wormwood Dream and the Solomon's Preparation, that's a pretty straightforward combo. That gives us 10 winters sort of sight unseen. We can get 11 with the bronze knife. And then, of course, from there, Whist gives us 13. So anybody with one winter would be able to give us that. But also a pale marrow, a glass of milk, blue crown tea. All of these things are also options in terms of seeing the final, well, the charred chamber through. Obviously, you have a few other areas in the Kruger bit to handle. So needless to say, I'm not as stressed out about making that happen. Anyways, we will leave all of that for the next broadcast, which will be on Wednesday. Thank you very much for watching, and for the Canadian, at least the Canadians. I don't know if this is a British thing as well. I think it's just Canadian. Happy Victoria Day to all of you. I will see you Wednesday. Take care.